Ah.
Wait, I wasn't supposed to be on that fast. Let's get this right.
Come on,
Let's get this right, man.
Where's Robert?
You know, coming from a solar system near you. You know, this is the space where I'm able to, you know, let my hair down a little bit.
Come on, man.
You know what I mean?
That's what we're talking about.
How are you, good brother? How are you, good brother?
Now. You trying? What's going on? That's half the problem now. You trying to let your hair down?
Hey, man, listen. I know this thing. Listen, bro. I can't even find my barber, man. I don't even know what to do with that. I hit him up like, "Hey, what's going on?" But I think he's testing me. He's like, "Yo, you said you want to let that little beard grow on your face, so I'm just not gonna be around to help you cut it." So. You know, let's see how it all works out, bro. Let's see how it all works out.
I got tired of waiting. And I got tired of my hairline being jacked up too. So I picked up a pair of clippers and never looked back.
I want you to stop, because if people don't know, you travel and cut your hair every night.
Not every night.
That's a lie.
We went. What reason do I have to lie to you? What?
No, you might not want the people to understand it as every night. We had a whole entire suite. I walked over to your side, knocked on the door like Molly Mall. I came over the next morning, Molly Mall, and like, you know, I took notes just trying to figure out what was happening. But
nah, man, I was shaving.
Yeah, okay. You look exactly how you look every day since you were 22. Since you were 22, you look exactly like that.
Stop giving up trade secrets.
It's consistency. It's about the consistency. I said that to you, Rick. It's about the consistency.
That's right. A drop of water will break a boulder in half if it's consistent. How you doing though? How's the family?
Yeah, everybody's well. making moves and making things happen, continuing along with moving folks and getting them into their new houses and everything like that. So and just going from region to region.
Yeah, man.
Looking
tell
and
the fam.
producing greatness.
Yeah, tell the fam I say congratulations. That's a big step. And
Okay.
good evening, everybody. Corporate Trauma, Level Up Past Corporate Trauma podcast community. It's good to see y'all. Rob, we got another one tonight.
Listen, the dope people that we continue to get. I don't know if the audience just knows, like, and because some of the folks they've never seen before, but I hope that they're really taking advantage and taking notes from when it comes down to the content. These are some awesome people.
Right.
Awesome people.
Absolutely. And tonight's for everybody, if you don't know already, tonight's subject is corporate perspectives and the information age. What the heck is Brother Jamal and Robert talking about? And yes, my preferred pronoun is brother, because how can we be family if we can't be friends? So if you say my name wrong, at least spell it right, Brother Jamal. Oh man, no, but the information age, man. We are getting ready to go into a new generation. I guess they say generations, flip every 25 years or so. I don't know what the math is on that, but every 0 to 25, you have a new crew of adults that are ready to take the helm of leadership and the next phase of professional acumen and all of those things. But this generation, that 18 to 27-year-old range, right?
That's Z.
I don't know what that is.
That gotta
be. What I'm saying? I tend not to. It's Z. I tend not to label them. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Because everybody don't subscribe to a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I believe it. Generation Z. But this generation is the most unique. Now, and maybe every time we produce a generation, people say that. But the significant changes that happened post 94, 95 with the information age coming into play is extremely significant, sitting on the base of everything that happened after the Industrial Revolution and then the building of corporate America. And then now you got global America. Man, we have individuals that don't know life outside of the information age, man. And I got a few examples I'm gonna talk about, you know what I'm saying? But we're seeing these young people, and I like to call them young, I consider myself young, but we see this age group, right, coming into leadership. Yeah. And man, they're awesome, but also misunderstood. And at some extent, they misunderstood they misunderstand their surroundings, possibly. Or is it we misunderstand them and they know exactly what they're looking at? I don't know. What's your take on it?
Well, you got to figure they're coming along as the first generation that fully pops on the scene with like phones, like legitimate. Like, I know I got my first cell phone. I was almost like 20 or something, but you're talking about folks who, they didn't have to take those library classes to figure out how to do certain things on a college campus, how to study certain things. Like, they already have all the information in front of them.
We getting some feedback from your mic.
See, this is what happened when I don't wear my regular headphone. All right, how we sound now?
No, you're good now.
Okay. Yeah, but you're also talking about a generation who they're coming into their own, with the baby boomers still here, the Gen Xers, the millennials, and then now they pop up, right?
And they're sitting on a traditional platform. Like, it ain't much change
When you say much, what do you think? I don't know. Like I feel like they're coming into a world that is very different in many cases than the other three.
This is what I mean, and I want you to continue that point because I think it's a valid point. The world has changed, but the corporate industrial complex.
Good point. Good point. Well, but think about it though. The foundation is usually the last thing to change, and it's hard to change it unless you're breaking something, right? And when we look at America and the world, and you're talking about the corporate industrial complex, there are enough people who benefit from it, who have power, that you can't expect it to change when people receive benefits from it. Now, it's only when you're the one that's getting smacked by the bus that you're like, maybe we should figure out safety rules. But when you're the one that's on the bus, you're like, you know what? We need to find a way to go faster, because I don't like how we boom boom when we hit people.
Right.
So
it's a fact.
It's one of those situations, and so depending on where you are, you view the world a little bit differently. So
you view the world a little bit different. Now, check this out, Rob. Right. Mm-hmm. Speaking of viewing the world a little differently, this generation knows nothing about walking to their friend's house just to have a conversation.
Fact. That is a fact.
Using the landline. And please don't get me wrong. I think this is an awesome paradigm shift. I'm not saying anything negative or pessimistic about this. I'm just observing, I'm saying some facts. This generation 18 to 27, most will never know what it's like to have to wait until your favorite shows come on TV once a week. Right? You waiting all hour long for your favorite song to hit that rotation on the radio.
That is true.
Huh?
How about having a cassette tape so that you could record the radio? Hit record.
You gotta plug the little plastic piece out the tape and put some paper in there so that it will record. They don't know nothing about that, right? And I'm not talking down, because I'm not saying that you should know. I'm just saying like these are things that was around for a long time, and then all of a sudden change. This generation will never know what it's like to have a set of encyclopedias in your closet. 1968 version, right? I'm in the 90s, 80s studying, and I got a volume of encyclopedias. Pretty much, most of them were still relevant and useful, right? This generation, man, don't know nothing about having to actually go to the bank to do monetary transactions, right? Waiting for your photograph film to be developed at Photomat.
But what's the craziest thing about a lot of those things?
I got more.
You got more, but a lot of it is for the better, right? I'm happy that they didn't have to struggle with a lot of those things.
Yeah,
I'd rather my mom call me when the lights come on than to scream my name down the street. Right, right.
They don't have to deal with that pressure. The street lights come on, that's pressure.
Yeah. Listen. I just started having fun. I just started having fun. And
I told you not to go outside. The street lights was about to go on, and you went out there anyway.
Listen,
right?
I know my mom be watching this, man, and
what's up, Mom?
If we had the cell phone, she could have called me like, "Hey, the lights about to
come
on.
Right.
I advise you to start coming home now." Compared to, I already see her walking down the street.
Oh,
come down the street. Like it's a whole different ball game. If I see her before she see me, I'm ducking and I'm dodging. I'm like, I'll be up the street in the house by the time she realized. I'm like, I was downstairs at grandma's house. But if she see me,
it's over.
Ball game. Yes.
This generation, 18 to 27, right? And I got a couple more. And then we have a subject matter expert, y'all, and I can't wait to introduce her to the community. My personal favorite. This generation will never know the elation it was to pull up to the Blockbuster Video parking lot and get out and walk. Look, I remember. You know what I'm saying? I remember what that's like. All new releases, like, didn't nobody bring that stuff back or waiting by the turnstile where they slip the tape through the slot? Yo, did Coming to America come in yet? Like, I remember that. You know what I'm saying? This generation don't know what it's like to wait all day for those after school cartoons. And the few reruns that came on before school, this generation will never know the sheer joy of Saturday morning cartoons, right?
Yeah.
And and there's so many different things, right? The advent of the internet coming to the mass public, and then what I mean, may God be pleased with the contributions of Mr. Steve Jobs and wanting to make a user-friendly device that produced an easier life for everybody in the world and making it accessible by putting a literal computer in your hands. Man, and this is the idea behind tonight's episode. Me and Rob talked about, if you're a corporate executive or you have access to them, or if you are perhaps a leader of board of directors and you don't have direct access to someone from this age group as a consultant, you are missing major opportunities to inform your corporate perspective for your plan going forward. But look, Rob, they ain't got to take our word for it. We got somebody tonight that's gonna walk us down this path. And I am very pleased to introduce to the corporate trauma community and Level Up Past Corporate Trauma podcast, Miss Amanda Sargent, speaker, consultant, thought leader, Rob, elected official, right?
Okay.
AKA
big time.
AKA Sargent Vito, voice of the young people. You know what I'm saying? She don't hold back.
I'm back. Go ahead, drop the whole line.
Come on now.
Voice of the young people.
You know what I mean? I let her introduce herself. You know what I'm saying? So I'm so excited because I've learned a lot from listening to her perspective in a short amount of time that we've had the opportunity to do some work together. And it occurred to me that statement is personified by Miss Amanda Sargent. So with no further ado, Sarge.
Thank you so much.
What's going on, Sarge?
Everything and nothing at all. But ultimately, I'm very passionate about people, empowering them, and of course, them having information so they can make well-informed decisions about themselves. And that is why I recognize that there is a need for a generational conduit, in which I'm passionate about not only helping people translate lived experiences because they're experts in their own life, but definitely helping people realize it before something drastic happens, right? Or not learning from tragedy and still insisting on doing things the same way. I believe it's called insanity. So very much excited about joining the stage, leveling up with you, if you will, corporate trauma on a Thursday night. Well, let's hang out Fridays tomorrow. So let's get to it.
Excellent. So thank you for that. See, I told y'all, she's not pulling back any level of perspective. Very valuable thought leader. But for those that don't know you, can you please just tell us a little bit about yourself? That you wish to divulge.
Well, honestly, I'm very passionate about helping people. It was something that I was reared in, birthed in. My father is a Baptist preacher, 43 years. My mother is a first lady. I'm the last of 5 kids. And so when you think about just literally growing up in a very rich environment, there is no training like church training. So let's say that first. Discipleship is real. But I don't deny, my heart for servitude, because it really made me just a natural born leader in the classroom academically. It made me more aware of people and that they are people first. And so respect was huge in my house. And so, of course, if you expect to receive it, you need to extend it. And so I'm just very thankful for all of my many experiences, being able to study abroad in Accra, Ghana, right? Going to Africa willingly and coming back voluntarily is a beautiful thing. And so that ultimately led me into politics. Didn't think I was going to do it. I was studying a master's in social work. And I remember having a very spirited conversation with one of my professors about, why I didn't feel like advocacy was necessary being an African-American woman. And he began to list that Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King was, the embodiment of self-advocacy. And I'm sitting here like, and they both were assassinated. Do I want to be a part of that list? No, sir.
Fair.
I found myself saying, you know what, God, whatever it is you want to do. So I literally filed the paperwork, ran for office. I was punked by some of my kids. At the time, I was a college access advisor for the University of Texas at Austin. And literally, I had to get my life. So that's one of the things I tell my students all the time. I tell them to believe in the 5 Ps. Prior preparation prevents poor performance. Get your life. Oftentimes, you hear proper preparation, but the prior preparation is a mental commitment that you have to make. And sometimes that's the hardest part of getting anything done. So that served them well, served me well. And 10 years from my graduation date, I took my oath of office, became the board president, was elected into the Hall of Honor for alumni. And I'm on my way to being Oprah. So I don't know what y'all gonna be doing in a couple of years, but that's the plan for me. And I'm enjoying the ride. I'll tell you that I'm enjoying the ride.
Oprah's. I can see it though. You gotta put it out there and go ahead and grab it.
Yeah.
So man, pleasure to have you, right? And I have this book, and great book's called there it is, The 3-Box Solution. I recommend this to anybody that's broaching the glass ceiling on the boundaries of corporate or executive leadership. And in this box, the author prescribes a theory, a 3-box theory, right? Says the present. Said you want to manage the present and optimize your current business opportunities, right? Then he says create the future. That's the second box. Invest in a new business model. But the third box, or I may not be saying it in order, but this third box I'm saving for last, it says the past. He said, forget the past. Forget your successes about the past, because that's going to get in the way of your present and the future. He said, let go of the values and practices that fuel current businesses and fail the new one. So your perspective, from what I know about you, is right in line with this question I want to ask, is when you think about today's corporate executives and they have unwittingly or deliberately omitted direct access to a professional such as yourself or similar, from their sustainability and longevity planning, because of your perspective of being this part, being a part of a demographic that is ushering in new perspective based on the information age and all the examples we talked about in the opening. What do you say? Like, why would you do that? Why would somebody do that? Why would they unwittingly or intentionally omit someone from your demographic from their planning phases?
I think that we're just confrontational, to simply put it. And it's not that somebody's intentionally walking in saying, I'm going to make you feel dumb today. But I think what ends up happening is asking an honest question that people have ignored reveals that, oh, I don't have a plan for that. And so even thinking about what the world currently looks like during a pandemic, we really want to hurry up and act like it doesn't exist. But now you're having the great resignations. People are straight up walking off their jobs. Why? Because people will perish without a vision, or you can perish getting minimum wage and people not listening to solutions that you bring to the table. And I think that unlike other generations, we have seen cycles of failed promises to people as it relates to the American dream. I remember being in grade school and seeing the Twin Towers. I remember bracing myself for 1999 because the world was supposed to end before the year 2000 and the computers were going to crash and everybody was stocking up food and we was praying real hard, and it was like, is this the rapture? Like, we didn't know. And then it was like, oh, we're alive so many years later, right? So we've had all of these turns of, oh, okay, well, you told me to go to college. Well, now I'm in college, and now entrepreneurship is the wave. And now you told me that if I stay in this job for so many years, I can retire. And now Social Security Social Security checks are falling through the roofs, and there's no such thing as retirement funds in the stock market. So it's like we're seeing cycles of failed promises, and who wants to get in the conveyor belt for that? So, I just think from a very honest standpoint, you just have people that have access to information and they're researching, and the more they find, they don't like that outcome, so they want to do something different.
When wait, Rob, hold up. Rob, she said because we're confrontational. That's right.
But it's not intentional. And I think that's the problem, right? Everybody wants to secure their spot. And so when you say things, it's like, this could be the next me if I'm not careful. And it's like, I was just trying to make sure the printer was going to print when I pushed it on my computer, because it didn't. Like, it could be something simple, but it just brings up all these other things. But continue, Rob.
Go ahead, Rob.
But it also makes sense, right? So what you're saying, along with the proper timing, makes things come together, right? So as the world gets more connected, in the beginning, for all those things that you shared, it's not that those things are new. It's the fact that more people realize that there were people out there going through the same thing. Right. And it starts off like, man, maybe I got to move somewhere else. Maybe I got to go to a different job. Maybe I got to leave Texas and go to the Northeast. So I got to go to leave the Northeast to go to Texas. That's what Sargent Speaks would say, right?
Texas is what it's called right now.
Because everything is bigger and better in Texas. That's right.
Dallas Cowboys one time. What was the score?
Listen, that was the issue. Once you started the Dallas Cowboys,
continue. Go ahead.
They're gonna end up in the same. They're gonna end up in the same ditch they ended up in since '95.
Look,
but I digress.
The faith of every Dallas Cowboy is unwavering. Okay.
Ironically, '95 is when the internet became available.
They've been dying since the internet. Okay, I digress. But what I will say, as instead of trying to figure out if the world is flat or the world is round, we can agree that the world is more connected.
Right.
So being able to realize that you're not the only person going through the nonsense, and it's not just two of you. It's not just a church full or a congregation of people from place to place inside of these different companies. You realize that it's a boatload of people, millions of people. And you're like, wait, so there's no running from it. I just have to stop participating.
Right. Because
people aren't going to respect my being, right? Unless they stop seeing and experiencing and feeling it, because they don't appreciate it. So for me, it's not so much just a generational thing, it's an awareness thing where it's like, why? I'm gonna stop complaining and I'm just gonna stop showing up. And then you're gonna have to come find me, sucker. Right? You're gonna have to come and find me. I'm for real. And you're gonna have to pay me. And I don't even care if there's a union involved. I want the bread.
Can
I
we
don't
talk
care.
about the bread and the
Well,
butter and the
let's talk
cake
about
and
it.
the pastry shop?
All right, so I got the butter knife. You go ahead. Let's get
So,
let's
and I
let's
think
get
I
it.
just saw a chat from Alicia. She was saying that oftentimes this confrontational piece is often confused with disrespect, and it's never that. And you're right. Typically, the response is to dismiss the idea because people in leadership have often gravitated to this sense of being an expert and not asking for help internally. They'll contract all day long, and that's why I'm like, let me get on that train, because if you were going to pay me to not deal with the day-to-day Pittsburgh culture and actually get something done, I would rather do that than not. But again, the price has gone up, because oftentimes when you're doing a needs assessment, and I must say that I have a master's of social work and community administrative practice, and something that I've noticed as it relates to a lot of organizations, nonprofit, for-profit, corporate, whatever, is that a lot of solutions don't address the need. And that hurts. That's always going to backtrack everything that you do, because when someone starts asking about, but what did it solve, and there's no response to that, you can't bring out the trophy and, oh, remember that gift card? Yeah, like you can't bring that out, because it goes back to, yes, today's price is not, yes, it's not yesterday's price. Now, I will caution some people using that, because some of the prices have gone down, because nobody talks about that part. Nobody talks about this stuff, because you have to be consistent when you talk about pricing and what have you. But I do think that coming up with solutions that don't meet the need, matched with awareness, is why people are like, oh, you're not trustworthy. Why am I stressing myself out? Why am I going to therapy about this? And I don't have enough money to support my lifestyle, because everything is going up around me except for my paycheck. And you know what? Self-care and internal peace, world peace, but inner peace. So, and you get peace.
What jumps out? Yeah, no, listen, that makes perfect sense. And the one thing, like the thing that really jumped out to me with the piece around not really solving something, we have throughout the whole entire, whether it's corporate, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's higher education, whether it's K through 12, we have a whole bunch of empty bottles of aspirin all over the place, right? Because folks have been focusing on symptoms for a very, very long time. And now it's one of those situations where, and you lay that out so beautifully, where it's like, hey, enough is enough. If you don't have the solution for the problem, then I'm gonna go find it myself. And I'm on board with that. I am completely on board with that. I'm not.
And I'll come back and sell it to you.
And I'll come back and sell it to you. See, everything is better, bigger and better in Texas.
Solutions are very simple. Yes, they can be. It could all be so simple. See, I didn't think I was the answer. I know about.
I didn't. Listen.
Very real. Very real. It could be very simple.
But you now make it hard.
Now, how valuable, in your estimation, even if you could put a dollar amount on it, or you can't, but can you describe to us how valuable that perspective from you representing tonight? Obviously, you don't speak for all of those who fit in the 18 to 27-year-old age bracket, but you've done some, some intent looking at it and working with this segment. How valuable is this perspective to someone in corporate leadership, in leadership period, like running their own small business, running for office? How valuable is this perspective? You said confrontation.
It's extremely it's important, and it's effective. I mean, I think so many people were so caught off guard when President Barack Obama was elected, but it's like, yeah, I'm going to mobilize the youth. I could sit here and talk to you, but if I know the consumer base, the stakeholder is over here. And I think that was small in part why during my particular campaign, it was like, oh snap, like she's talking to high school students and she's working with these people, and those people are going to become voters in a year. And I was just worried about, I was only focused on one side. So I'm like, yeah, you have to be inclusive. And I mean, even down to the babies at this point, because representation matters. So we only get like the higher level of it, but it goes so much deeper. Because I think about one of my friends recently. She's on the state board of education, and she did like principal for a day. And she walked into a room of kindergartens, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, that's Michelle Obama." And she was like, "Well, can I be Michelle for the day?" But I'm thinking to myself, that was the sweetest thing ever. But what they told me in very simple fashion is that kids are paying attention, whether they know who this is from this person. They know, oh, I can do this, I can become this, just like entrepreneurship. 9-year-olds out here making millions of dollars off of lemonade. And I'm like, well, do I need to be lemonade? It's not lemonade, it's youthfulness. It's innovation, it's creativity. So somebody is taking something that's been around longer than they have and found a new way to spin it and make it innovative and relevant. So why would you not want that person to help you make plans and decisions that's going to impact the relevance of your company for the next 20 years? Because a lot of people are still in brick and mortar and they're out of order and they can't keep up with COVID-19 protocols, have ignored it. And they wonder, is the workforce shrinking, or are people dying, or is it both? Oh, that's right. You took that PPP loan and paid yourself and didn't put it back into your workforce. So now you're putting... No, I'm just saying, like,
come on, Jamal. Press my button. Press my button.
The context is, it's like the math isn't mathing. And you get confusion, and it's like, I thought people didn't want to work. It's like, no, we noticed that we were putting ourselves on the front line in harm's way with no benefits, low pay, and you think you can monitor me? You think I'm going to allow you to lead me? I need to go do something different. I need to go to school. I need to make this work for me. People are really having to confront themselves. I think it's Michael Jackson, you know him, right? The man in the mirror. And they're having to say, am I going to change my ways? Because I've been waiting for this system to change, and it's not.
And it's not.
And it's failing at the same time.
It's like people are waiting for Blockbuster to come back and ignoring the fact that Netflix is popping.
Yeah. You know what?
But guess what? Hulu is popping. Amazon Prime is popping. Apple said, we got TV too. Everybody is coming up with a streaming service because they realize, oh, it's not let's go back to nostalgia. It's let's bring it to my company and make it work.
We're going back to the
future. And it's room for everybody to eat. Now,
let's jump on that piece though. That piece right there.
Yeah. Right? That's where I see the value at. The value add in your generation's perspective. Y'all have figured out that everybody can eat.
But the world is more connected now, right? So when you really look at it, even when you look at social media, for all the things that folks say about social media being negative, when you realize that there's so many potential customers in the marketplace that I no longer have to fight Amanda for a slice of pizza, because the slice of pizza that she's looking at and the slice of pizza that I saw are actually in two different parts of the world, not even just the country, two different parts of the world. And that alone should start to at least allow us to say, you know what, hey, but we could work together though. Because if we work together, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. When we talk about social media, it probably equals 3 and 4 because there's a multiplier effect. Right. So that piece right there goes a long way. Definitely.
Absolutely.
When you were doing your math problem, it reminds me of I promise. It reminds me of so there's a book called Boundaries for Leaders. It's by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend, and they are Christian psychologists. And very plainly, one of the first principles he talks in the book is that the solution can look different, even though it's not yours, right? So if you have to be very clear about your goals. So I'm very goal oriented, and I think a lot of people are catching on to it. They're calling it SMART goals now. I would shout out to Leadership ISD, call it SMART T goals. right? So not only does it need to be specific and measurable and, relevant and time bound, but it also needs to be inclusive and equitable. So that's the smart T of it. But the illustration that he uses is that if the goal is to get to 5, you can do 2 + 3, or 1 + 4, or 0 + 5. And just because what you're offering is 2 + 3 and I'm thinking 1 + 4, neither one of us are wrong. But it does require us to listen, to communicate, and to facilitate a conversation so that we can still get to our 5. And so when you are thinking about leadership, when you're thinking about corporate America, when you're thinking about making a pivot, because that's really what this entire pandemic has been. It's been a huge pivot. And a lot of people are resistant to it because they're not willing to hear the 2 + 3s and the 1 + 4s. So math.
And that was a point that I remember, right? There's a lot of businesses and a lot of even business owners and even many folks in our government who are still operating as if it was March 15th, 2020. Right. Whatever. I believe it's March 16th is when the NBA decided that they was going to shut down. They don't get enough credit. Right. But I tell you, everybody was moving forward. And when the NBA sent that text message or whatever it was to the Dallas Mavericks owner, he went like one of these and they said,
Mark Cuban don't
Mark
play
Cuban, right? Right. Mark Cuban. Okay. Yeah, it was okay. Look, another Texas.
It was the NBA. It was the NBA and it was Harvard University. When Harvard University sent their students home, and when the Celtics played the Utah Jazz and decided that Rudy Gobert coughed on Donovan Mitchell,
he might have saved folks himself, though.
Yeah.
When you really think about it.
It was a joke.
It was
he represented community.
18-27.
The joke that he thought he was playing actually had a ripple effect. And I won't lie to you, and folks won't think about it the same way, but they probably saved a lot of lives because there were some companies who were making people go to work because they felt like, oh, this isn't as bad as the flu, or this isn't this.
I bear witness. I know of an organization personally.
Well, Texas has somewhat ignored that it exists at all. Other states, it really depends on your governor. I will say during my tenure as an elected official, I was very privy and active during some of those COVID protocols, and it was federally executed, state mandated, and locally managed. That was kind of how the plan was rolled out to us. So it really did come down to whoever was in that governor's seat.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that really, you can look at what each state looks like and take a guess.
And that's a great segue, Amanda, to my next question, or our next question for you is, all right, so what would you advise? You have the attention, you have the ear of these leaders. You represent a very important, right? We talked about how important the perspective of your demographic is. And we talked about how valuable it is. Now, what would you advise these a corporate executive or professional that has power, right, over their organization or many? What would you advise them if you noticed that they were being resistant to this perspective, this very important and valuable perspective?
Well, for starters, boards are very important. And I'm not just saying it because I served on one, but it really did open my eyes to the mission, vision, and accountability matrix that exists for leaders in positions. And so a lot of times people are encouraged to put on shows for boards. And because of that, no one gets help. People just leave and they don't know why. People leave leadership. They don't leave the work. They go find the work somewhere else. In the leadership style that fits them. And so I think if more boards were putting out surveys directly to staff that was not synthesized through leaderships or, executive leaders, that maybe, there could be well-crafted goals. Because like I said, I don't think anybody goes to work to do a bad job. I think that people genuinely want to do excellent work and produce good work products. It's just either it's underappreciated, it's ignored altogether, or it's so much harder than what it has to be. But I do think it first can easily, if somebody's like, how can I do this? Do a survey. Read the survey results and actually make good on a promise or two. So you can actually refer. Remember in the survey when you said this, look, we're doing this that positively impacts you in this way based off of what you said. I think that's very small because right now, there is not a lot of faith in the workplace. Like I said, people are willing to leave, and those who thought they was going to die on it, some have seen them and said, I'm not next. So it's very important that people really start figuring it out. And I say that because I have seen death touch a lot of different spaces, whether it was in a church sense, everybody, I have the faith in the Father. And it's like, well, you're going to meet him, get it together. And so because they saw a few people get touched, it was like, oh, we got to do something different. Same thing with a lot of leaders. I served alongside other board presidents who were making decisions for teachers who were forced to go back in the classroom, for students who were forced to go back in the classroom. Some of those board presidents have since passed. Teachers have since passed. Kids have since passed. So you got parents that are like, you know what, I'm a homeschool. They were doing it during the pandemic. We're going to keep doing it. You're going to stay at home. You got teachers walking off the jobs. You have people who are resigning for positions and posts because it's just not safe, because self-preservation is resurfacing as a priority over work life, because work-life balance has not been respected. So if you want somebody to have faith enough in your institution to expend their energy towards a common goal, get one. Put teeth of accountability around that goal and appreciate your people and pay them.
The explanation point that she put on the back of one was the size of Texas, and get one. Like,
I'm just
man, get one.
Get one. And it's that easy, right? Just get one, and that goes a long way. And I think it was Alicia that said, and it's a lot of times the solutions are right there, right? But let's be honest, also, but the solutions will put some people out of a job,
and they need to go.
Yeah.
But they also hold the key. Like a lot of those folks who need to go are the ones who are the gate hold or the key holders, and the folks who are standing in front of the door, like, no, we can't go this way.
Yeah.
That's why you need a
a can of mace.
No. That's why you need that's why you need somebody from this demographic who's on deck, poised to take the baton.
Well, and
to be like, yo, you gotta go.
and I'll go biblical with you. So I remember being in a situation in a work environment that was extremely toxic and very hostile, to be honest with you. And literally, I had to kind of coin this person as my professional Saul. So as you know, well, in the Bible, 1st or 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, one of those. Literally, the people wanted a king, and Saul was put in position. And David was then anointed to be king while Saul was still on the throne, to the point where he was just minding his own business, playing his guitar, having a good old time, and was running an errand simply enough. And was like, we're going to let this problem happen. Like, it's Goliath. I know he ain't talking. No, we just, y'all chilling. What? And just by being himself and his past experiences, which served him well in this situation, provided a way for him to be king. Saul was like, oh, that's not going to happen. So that same mentality of, I know you're helping me, but I'm going to hurt you. That happens a lot in the workplace. And that is very toxic culture. And because leaders are not held accountable, you have workers that have to decide paycheck or not. And because a lot of people have pivoted in this pandemic, some of the work perks are no longer perking. Okay. So it was like, oh, remote work. That's a very attractive, thing for this job in this pandemic. Well, now a whole bunch of companies not going back and paying rent. They like, oh, you can stay at home and we'll give you a phone and we'll pay your internet and we'll give you a Uber Eats discount every month. Well, that sounds like I want to do that. So it's literally one of those things where you really have to come to, like I said, that awareness piece. Thank you for bringing that out earlier. It's really an awareness. Where are you? What do you want to do? Get clear about that. And then you make moves as necessary. Because whatever is for you will happen for you. And I think that's something that our generation knows all too well. But I think it's something that other generations are coming in. Like I said, they're having that moment of confrontation. And sometimes they're ignoring that nagging feeling that they're having. So it's very easy to dismiss it because that's what they do in their personal life and their quiet time. And when they're alone and when they wake up and they can't go to sleep and they have ulcers and heart failure and disease that sits up in their bodies because they're not addressing things that they thought would be rewarded in corporate culture. I know that was a lot, but
that's amazing. That's amazing.
It was.
But I want you to, I want you to feel comfortable. And even if it's just one thing, right? I want you to feel comfortable with this platform and speak directly.
Yeah.
So,
it is a heart posture. It is a heart posture. And I think it's very important because stress is really a culprit that is undermining people's health. I'm talking about when they're off of the clock, they don't have energy to spend with their families. And the only thing keeping me from my family is providing for my family. And if the check is not worth the sacrifice, I'm looking elsewhere.
Boom, there it is.
That's
great advice.
And you know what the wildest part is? And that was the difference between many generations before. And granted, there were probably people who were sprinkled in between the boomers and let's say the X's and maybe even a couple of the millennials. But a lot of us on the millennial generation, it's very, very similar. It's like some of that stuff we're just not with. Like I'll bounce tomorrow. Right.
You don't even come in. People don't take our word.
Smell it though. I could smell it. And I've told people I could tell that that something won't work for me in a couple of days. I could get around the people and it's like, yeah, I could smell y'all already. Like y'all can't even hide that funk. You can't. Right? You can't hide it. Like, it doesn't matter how much, what do they say? It doesn't matter how much cologne or perfume you put on. You could put the oils on. I smell it. And they're like, hey, Rob. And I'm like, nah, you fake. But it's okay. Hey.
But I can tell you one question that I have learned to ask, and it has sifted like wheat. Okay. Two-edged sword, if you will. So what are the goals for the next 5 years?
Wait a minute.
What are the goals?
And go on camera on that one.
No.
She got to go by herself, Jamal. All right, cool. Listen, she should be by herself.
And I'll tell you this because it really speaks to leadership. It speaks to if that job will still be around in 10 years. So anybody who fails to plan plans to fail. And do you want to be a part of that plan? Because you will be the only person holding it together. And I say that as literally as a local elected official, I became very sensitive to the fact that there was not a strategic plan in place, but there was class happening every day. So the thing that I did before I left office was to ensure that there was 5 to 10 year plan and a strategic plan that spanned 15 years that was rooted in the medical industry, like all of the companies that were in Dallas County to help it flourish, because the school can't do it alone.
Right.
Because we're still trying to get the cooperation of the parents. We were still trying to get the cooperation of the city. We were still trying to get state funding. We were still trying to, so when everything is contingent upon you having a plan, because people are ready to help. People are raising their hands like, oh, you know what? I need a job and I can do this. And it's like, well, what are the goals for the next 5 years? Oh, you didn't see that job posting? Stop lying on these job postings. I don't know who that's for.
Yo,
But
It's
y'all need
creative.
to
It's
stop
called
telling me
creative writing. It's
yeah.
called creative writing. My
Because
goodness.
You don't even
that
want to
one
talk.
sentence, duties as assigned,
That's getting played out.
That's a
what's
whole
the
nother
word?
That's
That's fake
Yes.
news. I
It'd
think
be a
that's
a
whole
whole
new
other
person.
job on the side of that. Like, can I get a can I can I
Can I
get a
get a
hamburger
side?
with a side of steak? No,
so we
no,
gotta
I don't
stop
want
that.
that.
You only can get fries.
We
No,
gotta
no, but steak.
we gotta
That's a
stop that.
perfect point.
Mistake. We gotta stop that.
But see, you make an excellent point, right? Those who fail to plan to fail, which is the last of the 3-box solution, which is forget the past. So planning for the future is forgetting the past. Like, never mind all that. We did
But
great.
not unicorns and rainbows either.
Right.
A lot of people are like, oh, here's the plan. The plan is to, we're all going to ride out of here and go to the moon and build by 2022. And it's like, who doing that?
Bruh.
This buffering Wi-Fi, I know you're playing, so I'm just saying, like, just be sensitive and make your own, judgment from there. But I will say, if you're ever in a situation, if you ever are questioning, should I stay at this job? Should I leave? Ask, what were the plans for the past 15 years? And this is even very important for people who are looking to buy homes, schools, like all of that. When it is a long-term investment that your body has to physically reside and occupy, those are good questions to ask.
Those are very good questions to ask. Very good questions to ask. And I would also augment to professionals from the 18 to 27-year-old age bracket, for organizations that you might be working for, because a lot of you are finding ways to take your skills directly to the marketplace, right? And be entrepreneurs and consultants to a great extent, which is personally inspiring to me. But if you do find yourself as a salaried employee, just do the research. Ask, okay, so when was the last time y'all put out an annual review?
Yes.
Right.
Financial audits.
Yeah.
Public information.
Those things are public information. And if your organization hadn't put one out in a while, there lies part of the problem. Because if you can't report on the plan and publish your findings from the plan, you might not have had one.
Yeah.
But you got paid for it though.
But you got which is also in the annual business review of your organization. Who got paid what?
Today's price is not yesterday's price.
Today's price is not yesterday's price.
That's true.
Shout out to Fat Joe from the Bronx, right? Great conversation. Excellent points. Miss Sargent, at this point, we would love, as we do traditionally with all of our guests, is to ask for you to give a final word on this subject matter, or anything that you might be thinking about, that this is a good opportunity for you to express. And that doesn't necessarily have to be anything specifically related to what we've already discussed, or it can be. But we definitely just wanted to give you some final comments before we allow you to retreat for the evening.
Okay. All right. Oh, the pressure. But this is the future-owned Oprah Winfrey Network. It was not built in a day. So what I'll leave you all with is what God has for you. It is for you. The only way that you can get to this very gift is if you know yourself. And there are so many within this age of information. There's so many things pressing upon us, pressuring us to do, perform, don't do, judge, shame, change, contort, fit in, whatever. But it's by knowing who loves you, loving yourself, and knowing yourself that you can truly move forward in life. There are a lot of people that are older than everybody, right? I think everybody's found somebody that's older than the next person. And so you're never going to win that race, right? I'm never going to be older than you, but there are a lot of people that are older than us that are stuck as 17-year-olds, as 5-year-olds. The arrested development is real. So it's very important for us to get to a point where we remember what God has for us, when his timing is always perfect. He's the father of time. It can be the how long have we been in quarantine? Come on now, let's think about this. How long has it been, right? So
County.
It can be a long time, it can be a short time, but change is inevitable. But it's very important that you get connected to the source of our being, the Lord of our light, so we can truly make change and make good on the investment that he has put in each and every one of us. So be gentle with you. You the only you got, and get your life. Bam.
And y'all heard it.
Amen.
And true to form, right? As we were preparing for tonight's broadcast, I asked Miss Sargent to avail me her email address. And I've had an email address for several years. And learning her email address, I realized how I've been doing it all wrong for several years. Her email address. Do you mind if I say it?
Sure.
All right. Her email address is Hey Amanda Sargent. See, that is something very catchy and easy to remember, right? Whereas my joint is like J dot
triple D.
Yeah, like what is all that? Like
no.
1975.
Why are your email addresses so complicated? See, it took somebody who's grown up in the age of information, the age of instant gratification, to make efficiency out of the complicated solutions. I mean, the complicated problems with simple solutions. So we appreciate you joining us tonight and sharing from your perspective. And I think personally, you did a great job representing your demographic.
Yes. I agree. Awesome.
All right.
Bye. Follow me at Sargent Speaks.
Yes. Please tell the people how they can holler at you.
Yes, at Sargent Speaks on IG, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn. If you want to read about all of the things that I do, the services that I offer. If you're looking for a speaker, are you trying to motivate somebody to get a full scholarship, or maybe be prepared to enter the workforce, or maybe you just need a mentor and you don't know where to go? Well, I'm a paid servant, and you can definitely reach out to me on any of those platforms, including my email, heyamandasargent@gmail.com.
Nice. Awesome.
All right, Rob. We don't have to throw no more noodles against the wall to see what sticks.
Nah, we don't. That was a good one, and I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. And she dropped some bombs after bombs. The size of those. Never mind. I won't even say it.
And I feel good because
the trophies from yesteryear from Dallas. Yeah,
I know, right? I don't feel like I'm that far off. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I can catch up to the young Thundercats. Speaking of Thundercats, they'll never understand what it was like to watch a cartoon and be knee deep into an episode, and then they hit you with the to be continued, and you got to wait till tomorrow or next week. They'll never know what that's like.
Yeah.
But they got this other stuff down pat, Rob.
Listen, but being able to open your arms and embrace the generations that come behind you, but then also provide what you've seen, and y'all work together to produce something that will make the world better is key. But so many of us get caught up in our pride and the things that we've seen, and sometimes a difference in a day makes a whole lot of difference. So I hope as we all get older, day by day, we find a way to do things a little bit better.
Absolutely. And keep young people close.
Yep, definitely.
Keep them close, because the further you push them away, the closer you are to, like Amanda was saying, meeting up with your maker, right? And that's not just physically, that's mentally, that's intellectually, that's spiritually. They got something. And that energy that is derived from youth, full innovation and perspective, is one of the keys to the fountain of youth itself. So thank y'all for tuning in. Another great episode. Tell your friends, tell your family about the Level Up Past Corporate Trauma podcast, where we don't just talk about the causes of corporate trauma, like omitting the perspective of those that are between the ages of 18 and 27 that represent their whole life in the information age and what they mean to professional life. We don't just talk about what the detriment is. We talk about ways that you can level up from that. Coining a phrase from my brother Rob is to level up, right? We can't stay stuck in corporate trauma. And that's what corporate trauma is that crossroads where you decide whether you're going to lead or leave a bad situation because you're stuck. We don't get stuck. We got to level up. And if you want to get in contact with myself or Mr. Felder, here is our contact information. Look, athletes got coaches, entertainers have coaches. If you're a singer, if you are improv, they all got coaches. But there's millions and millions of people that go to work every day, right? And are professionals at something. You should have a coach as well. Me and Robert, and as you heard, Amanda are available to you, as she said it, paid servants to help you level up past anything that you have in store professionally. So until we talk to you again next week, may the Most High preserve you and keep you safe. And if you find yourself looking down the barrel of corporate trauma, remember that it is a sneaky, passive trauma that will creep up on you. And when it does,
it is time to level up.
Have a great evening.
Peace.
See y'all next week.